Hey everyone, grateful as usual to have you guys tuning in for today's message. And today I am, as usual, right in the midst of my own personal growth and development journey. And I can't wait to share this one with you. So I'm going to talk it out. I'm going to introduce a little bit about the myth of Pandora. So it might be kind of interesting for those of you who know a bit about that. I didn't know much about it. I'm only going to touch on it briefly, but really what I'm going to be diving into today is a pretty tricky topic, actually. And it comes down to, I've been going through a new book by Polly Young Eisendrath. You guys know that I mentioned one of her books that I just went through, which was Love Between Equals, which I really encourage every single one of you guys to go out and get if you want to transcend the old paradigm of relationship and create something that's more based on a spiritual path, right? Like something super deep that actually excels each individual's growth, right? But basically, today's particular message is from another one of her books. So when I finished that first one, this one kind of came up as a suggestion and I was like, that's interesting. It's called Gender and Desire, Uncursing Pandora. And I was like, wonder what that's about. Kind of sounds interesting, and I really loved her work and what she was all about with that first book. So I decided to read it, or actually listen to it. It was only a much shorter book. It was only about four or 5 hours worth of content. But it was really fascinating and interesting on a particular topic that I personally have struggled with and not really ever been able to find the answers to, and maybe not even really dive that deep into discovering the answers. Maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe I just couldn't, it just wasn't the right timing, whatever it was. But today's topic is going to touch on men and women's desires in relationship, and in particular our attraction to one another and what we kind of reinforce in terms of these kind of double binds. Like we kind of feel like we don't have the right answer. We're trying to maybe achieve something, achieve a result, or achieve the desire of others, for instance, which I'm going to unpack a little bit with you guys. But then when we get it, it's kind of like, we resent it, right? So I'm going to dive in and unpack what the hell I'm talking about with this one. But as you guys know, I love it when you play along at home. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and questions as we go through this conversation, and I will, as usual, get to you guys all at the end. Can't wait to connect. So let's start with today's title, which is The Myth of Pandora. And basically the message for today is to become the object of your own desire rather than manipulate an external object of your desire. And I'm going to unpack what the hell that is as we go along. Being inspired by, like I said, Polly Young Eisendrath's book, which is kind of an old one. I think it's back from 1997 it was originally published, but called Gender and Desire, Uncursing Pandora. Okay, so I want to briefly touch. Now, I am not, I'm not really into history all that much. I appreciate it. I'm by no means an expert in history or mythology, but I really wanted to talk to you guys about what she mentions in her book about Pandora. Now, I'm not going to go into the massive story of that, just briefly touch on the elements that are important for today's message. And in her book, she's talking about women's kind of double bind with their value of beauty, right? So in a lot of times, women have been sent the message that their value is determined by their appearance, right? Their beauty. And I don't know a single woman out there who hasn't had this kind of reinforced to her, myself included, and like I said, something that I've been really kind of questioning over the years, okay? So anyway, what happened was, the brief history of it, in Greek mythology, Pandora was the first ever woman. And basically she came about because Prometheus, who was the fire god and a divine trickster, he had stolen fire from heaven and bestowed it on mortals, right? And then Zeus, who was the king of the gods, he ultimately didn't like that, right? Like he didn't want the mortals to have the power of fire. And so what he did was he created the first ever woman and bestowed her with these amazing gifts, right? From all the different gods, and they kind of crafted this perfect woman, but they made her without a heart, and it was meant to manipulate men, right? And to be kind of like the downfall, right? He wanted to counteract the fire that had been given to them. He wanted to give them kind of a like balancing out, right? To give this woman who was so beautiful, who would, make the men desire her, but then she had no heart, and she was quite manipulative and brought out evil, right, in competition with men, right? So that's the gist of it, right? The little piece that we're going to be tapping in to and relating to today's topic, right? So basically, if we look at gender, I'm going to start there and then I'm going to apply it to everyone, no matter what gender you are, right? How this can be of value to you. But basically, women have a double bind, right? Because in society, we're taught throughout the ages that our value is in our beauty, right? And men are taught that throughout the ages that to have a woman who possesses beauty is power, right? So women's power is possessing beauty, and men's power is, having a woman who possesses beauty, right? This is basically the storyline underlying our unconscious behavior. And so what happens though in our society is that women innately know that some of their power is in their beauty, and basically they are told, whether they're doing it consciously or not, to hone in kind of on their beauty, and that's kind of a way of having power, right? And basically men are kind of wanting that beauty too, right? And they want that, and they feel reinforced as the masculine to have a beautiful woman on their arm, right? Like this is kind of very unconscious kind of general kind of behavior I'm talking about. And so what happens is it's a double bind for the woman, right? Like the very thing that she wants is that beauty so that she can have the love, and then she gets what she wants, but it reinforces to her that her value is in her beauty, right? And so there's kind of this double-edged sword, right? A double bind of you get what you want, but then it reinforces, that the thing that you resent the most, right? This need to be beautiful in order to be of value, right? But they so want to be valuable, and so they want to be beautiful, right? So that's the double bind. And in Polly's book, she talks a lot into the studies along, women's lives, right? And what they value going through school, and how they kind of are all kind of molded to this Pandora myth, right? And basically how it affects men on the other side is that if men embrace the myth of Pandora, they actually are very distrustful of women. They think that women are manipulative. They're trying to manipulate them, right? And if they, do away with the myth of Pandora, right? That women are manipulative and beautiful but cold inside, right? If they do away with that and don't opt for a beautiful woman, say for instance, or prioritize that, then other men distrust them, right? They're like, what's wrong with this guy, right? So it's an interesting concept that I'm just really, really touching on the surface for you guys, because I've only just been tapping into this, but I wanted to mention it because you guys know I love taking you on the journey of whatever I'm learning and going through. And it's actually allowed me to come up with a whole bunch of insight that I've never had previously in terms of my own history with my relationship with myself and my relationships with intimate partners and everything. So it's deep dive, but what I wanted to keep it on in the view of today is basically with this whole concept of becoming your own object of your own desire. What do I mean by that? When you know your own worth, whatever you do as a result, in whatever you put out into the world, it's actually coming from not a needy place, but a self-loving place, right? You're not trying to manipulate or get anything. But if you do not know your worth, if you are far from your own object of desire, what happens is you place the object of desire in your external world, in another person, in a goal that you want to accomplish, whatever it is. And what you do is you're trying to prove your worth and your value, right? Because you don't own it within. You're trying to prove it through external sources. And what you do is, because you do not believe that you are good enough in some way, shape, or form, right? You're not knowing your worth. You manipulate your way of being in the world so that other people see you in a particular light, or you manipulate your way, you do disingenuous things to achieve a certain result. And then what happens is, you get the object of your desire, say that's in relationship, say you get that person, or you get the goal that you were after, but you've done it from a place of not knowing your worth and attempting to manipulate your external environment to attain something that you feel will give you that sense of validation and sense of worth. But what it does is it really just reinforces to that deeper part of you that already doesn't feel good enough, that you're not good enough as you are to get that result, right? So you might achieve it, but you've done so with manipulation, right? And so you've got that thing, but you did it from a place that's not authentic to who you are. And so you've got it, but you don't appreciate it. You can't feel fulfilled by it, because really what that thing is doing, what you've wanted so much, ends up being a resentment to you, because it reinforces that you're not worthy or valuable as you are, your authentic self. You had to manipulate your way to get there, right? Now, how this can kind of, I can reflect it in my past relationships is basically one of the biggest things for me was going through my life and through my relationships and always reaching this same end point. And that same end point was basically me feeling like I can't be all of who I am with this person, right? And so where that kind of came from was what I've just discovered, and I've gone in a lot more depth than what I'm probably going to share with you guys right now, because I'm still mulling it over to get to a point of value for you guys, and I feel a little bit all over the shop even explaining this to you guys. But basically, I had definitely got that message that my value is in my physical appearance, right? And I can go throughout the timeline of my life and I can see how that was reinforced, not because anybody was intentionally trying to make me connect to that as my sense of value or worth, but just because that's how our society is, and that's how we roll, and that's my interpretation as a young child and so forth, right? It's throughout history, right? All women will experience this to some way, shape, or form in their own unique ways. But basically, what happened was I would want depth of connection and love, and the way that I had unconsciously attracted partners into my life was through appearance, right? You guys know, anybody who's been following me for a long time, even if this is your first video, you obviously can tell that I value my appearance, right? My physical appearance. That has shifted and changed in terms of my connection to my health rather than just pure aesthetics, but that's a topic for another time, right? But basically what would happen in these relationships is if I attracted them as this perfect vision of what the ideal partner would be, right? The ideal feminine partner for them. What it did was I put myself in a position where I attracted people who that's what their number one thing for, valuing was as well, right? And so what I actually discovered was, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to go deep with you. I wasn't going to go here, but I feel like it doesn't make sense if I don't. So basically, here's what I've come up with. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what's kind of come up for me. I listened to this book that Polly has written. I went through it twice, right? And basically, I really tried it on for size. This is what I always do when I am learning and growing. I want to go deep and I want to try it on for size, even if it feels at first glance, no way, or it feels really uncomfortable to even acknowledge or even think about. I looked at it and I applied it to my life. Now, okay, hear me out. I'm going there. So what Polly explains is that women's power is in their beauty. At least that's what gets reinforced to us. And a lot of times the studies that have been done, they've shown that based on childhood, it was oftentimes when a narcissistic parent was involved, but then they've since seen that it's pretty much across the board. But basically what I saw was, I grew up, and I love my dad to death. Don't get me wrong. He's an incredible man. I have an incredible relationship with him at this point in my life. But as a young child, not consciously did I think this, only upon reflection, I felt like he was pretty scary, right? Like I'd never thought that he was going to attack me, but like I walked on eggshells, right? Like I really felt like it was very much that masculine, no emotion, my way or the highway kind of mentality, right? And that's kind of, the so-called masculine strength, right? The physical strength and the dominance. And so as the youngest in the family, the only girl in the family, I think what happened for me was that I clicked onto my power is in my appearance, right? And I think that that's what I kind of held on to. And in Polly Young Eisendrath's book, she talks about how men can feel very manipulated by women and feel humiliated by beautiful women, right? And that's the kind of power imbalance. And without going too deep into it right now, even there've been studies from rapists, right? And they all had the same thing come up, which was in the presence of a beautiful woman, they felt humiliated and they wanted to retaliate, right? So it's an act of aggression on the sexuality or the beauty of that woman, right? And so it's very fascinating how deep it can go. But basically, I'm trying this on for size. I don't know if it's true or not, but what I can perceive could have happened was me connecting to my beauty, right? Was kind of a way of regaining power from from growing up with, a father that was very dominating in a masculine power sense. And basically from there, like honing into the beauty element, I can even look at my previous relationships and I can see how different they were to my dad, right? Almost like the opposite to my dad. I don't know if you'd call it alpha versus beta kind of going on, but basically what I saw was I attracted my intimate partners through appearance, and they were, not like my dad. They weren't dominating. They were more loving and affectionate, right? And so that made me feel more safe in the dynamic. But what happened was those men were as lacking in self-worth and needing validation from the external world as I was, right? Like I was doing it through my appearance, and then them being attracted to me for my appearance validated my sense of value and worth as a woman on an unconscious level, right? And then so it kind of fit. But then what I found was I could never feel fully safe or able to be all of who I was with those men, because actually they were lacking in their self-worth and getting their validation of their worth by having me as a partner who they perceived could possess beauty, right? And so that fulfilled their void, while my void of not feeling a value was fulfilled by them valuing my appearance, right? And so what happened was, it felt like my appearance held a heavy burden of both of our senses of value and worth to be upheld, right? And what that did was put me in this position of having to uphold perfection 24/7, right? And then that reinforcing that my sense of value or worth as a woman was connected directly to my appearance, right? And I didn't know any of this consciously. Believe me, none of it. I just was going through all the motions of relationship challenges and dynamics that we all experience. And I had no means of understanding this level of depth of where my sense of value and sense of self-worth was tied, and where theirs was, right? And that's what created a really codependent connection in a lot of ways. Now, I'm honing in on this particular part of relationship. Obviously, there's a lot more going on from both sides, but understanding this, right, has actually allowed me a new sense of freedom, because I can see that I've been playing along with the myth of Pandora, and I've been attracting the circumstances that I have based again on the myth of Pandora, right? It's everything in life. Every experience that you have is actually here to wake you up to a new level of self-awareness, depth, and connection to yourself, and ability to move forward from a higher place of truth in your external world, and understanding of why you do what you do, what motivates you. And so you guys know, who've been following me for a little while, some of the more recent experiences that I've gone through with very dominating men, right? And so what has happened over the last year has been, I've attracted in particular two very dominating men, who one of them tried to kind of put me in a position like I was an actress in front of Harvey Weinstein, right? And basically I can see now what kind of happened in that dynamic, and how I was presenting to the world was with this part of value as a woman in beauty, right? But not really seeing that, and then attracting a situation where I had to wake up to, how am I operating in the world? What is being perceived? How am I operating in a way that is attracting this kind of dynamic, right? And then, in the last few months, I had somebody come into my life who felt very rejected by me, very humiliated by me, because I wasn't interested in a relationship with them. And so much so that they threatened my life verbally, right? They didn't do anything about it, but verbally threatened my life, right? And so I've had to look at these situations and go, what is my part in this, right? And also look at my intimate relationships and go, if I do not want to end up in the same dynamic as what I've experienced in the past, I have to look at how I'm operating and where my sense of worth is connected, because that's what's ultimately holding all of us up. If you place your sense of worth in some sort of external person or appearance or achievement or job or role that you play in life, if it's connected to anything in the external world, it's terrifying, right? And it's going to be fleeting, right? Your appearance is going to go down south as you age, right? You are not going to be able to, anything that's connected to other people, like, you know, say you identify as a mother or a father, and that's where you get your sense of self-worth. And then your kids grow up, leave home, they don't want anything to do with you or whatever. Like it's in the hands of somebody else, your sense of worth, or the job that many people right now have lost, right? Or the income, right? The money, right? That people identify with as their sense of self-worth, and then it's gone, right? You know, all these different things, if we connect our sense of worth to external sources, then we do whatever we can to manipulate others to get what we want. But all it does is put us in the double bind of receiving what we thought we wanted the most, but being in total resentment of it, because it just merely reinforces our deepest fears that we're not good enough as we are authentically, without doing or being any particular certain way. All right. So that's I didn't expect to kind of go into that part of it, but I think because it's so new, because I've been doing this work this morning, I think I just needed to talk it out with you guys. I'm hoping that me sharing what I am sharing is of value. I speak to a lot of women and have a lot of women coaching clients who really struggle with their element of their beauty, right? Particularly as they feel like they're getting older in life. And I hear time and time again, you know, oh, like I'm getting this old, or my partner's not going to be attracted to me because of this, or, you know, and there's so much of our sense of value as women caught up in our beauty. And I know it. I totally know this. I'm living it, right? I still have a lot of work to do on this area, but I feel like I've come so far in my level of awareness that it's kind of like, if you realize this stuff, right? It's not that you have to change what you do necessarily. You just have to be really consciously aware as to why you do what you do. For instance, if I was, you know, doing my hair and my makeup and wearing my beautiful dresses that I love, if I was doing that from a place of, oh my God, like I have to make sure that people tell me how amazing and beautiful I am, or else I'm going to feel like the most unworthy human being ever, right? Then I'm really buying into the myth of Pandora, and I am not a healthy person, right? I need something from the external world in order to validate that I'm of value, right? And we do this with all sorts of things. It's not just beauty. This is just a big one for women. For men, it tends to be in their finances, right? In their money, their ability to generate money. It's a big one for them. But basically, it's not that when we uncover this stuff, it's really what motivates you to move forward, right? So now, you know, and I'm not saying I'm all there. I know I've got more work to do in this realm in particular. This is a big one for me. But I love to do my hair, to do my makeup, to wear beautiful dresses, because I love doing that for myself, right? Like I love feeling good. I feel like I'm honoring myself. I feel like it's self-care. It's spending time on, you know, valuing myself, right? And all the other things that I do in terms of my health are really important, right? If I was just doing all the aesthetic sort of things, but I was eating crap food, not looking after my internal world, and not exercising from a place of longevity and looking after myself and building muscle and looking after my joints and all those sorts of things. If I was just doing it for the aesthetic reasons, that would be a purely trying to get some validation from the external world, as opposed to I can still show up and I can still wear makeup and I can still do my hair and I can still wear the dresses, but it's coming from a place of self-care, and I'm doing all these other beautiful things to nurture my internal world that nobody else can see, right? You can't see how healthy I am. I mean, you might perceive that I am, but you don't know necessarily what I'm eating, what, you know, supplements I'm taking, how I'm nurturing my body. And in fact, I just actually really injured my back this week, about 4 days ago now, and I'm able to stand normally with you guys now, but it kind of reinforced this to me. It was like, hang on a minute, like you better look after your health at a whole new level, right? On your internal world, right? So I'm making some shifts and changes there as a side note. But my point is that it's not what you do in your external world, it's your motivations behind all that you do. And your greatest pathway for growth towards your potential and your freedom from the double binds in our external world, right, that just are reinforcing our lack of self-worth, is you want to build your awareness around your motivations to do everything that you do. Question everything, right? Particularly the things that you've done for a very long time. And just go, where did that come from? Why do I do that? I mean, I can definitely reflect on, hearing my mum, question or, doubt her appearance or say she's going to go on a diet or anything like that. And I can see that growing up, right? And I can see where some of those patterns come out. But it's everywhere, right? We all have all of these different things that have contributed to why we do what we do, but left unquestioned, we could be reinforcing our own lack of sense of self-worth. So we want to build self-awareness. We want to build that consciousness around why we do what we do. And then from that place, it might not be that you change your behavior. You may change your behavior, but it might be that you just have different, better, healthy, self-loving reasons behind what you do. All right. So this one's been a long one. I've been off on multiple tangents. I definitely want to check in with you guys for all of you who've stuck around through me talking this out. But I hope it is of value. So for you women out there to look at your relationship with your beauty, right? And to just go and be really kind and compassionate with yourself around this. And just go, like how much of my sense of value and worth as a woman is directly correlated to my beauty. And look at discovering other ways of how you are such a beautiful, valuable human being, right? And I think there's value in that as well, like this perception in our society of, being our value coming from appearance, right? It's definitely driven me more to develop all the other parts of myself, right? To tap into my kindness and my compassion and build a heart, right? And my intelligence, right? To be able to help and support people by learning different things, and my courage to, put myself out there and, go deep, right? To tackle these dark parts, these shadow parts of us, and to hopefully be able to add value in different ways, right? And so look at it that way. And then for men out there, an interesting thing for men is to just also pick up on this. And men can experience this as well, particularly if they have grown up with particularly their mother kind of reinforcing to them who they need to be, or also their appearance, if that's something that's been important, right? So men can experience this as well, and they do in fact experience it in other ways, right? Like when the whole term of a gold digger, right? Like they're afraid that they lead with their money. Some men lead with their money because that's where they feel they can add value, but then they attract a woman who wants them for their money, right? And then they're resentful of that, So they have their own double binds going on. This is not just a woman's thing, but I just want us all to look at it, like look at the ways that we're operating in life, and just to know that until you know your worth as a human being without anything external, physically, financially, spiritually, anything that you're trying to get from the external world, until you know your worth, you're going to continue to needily manipulate others into validating you in that realm. And then you're going to get that validation of what you want, and then you're going to be resentful of it because it's reinforcing that that's where your value comes from, and that's what you are as a human being. All right. Oh my God, I'm going off. I'm tapping into you guys right now. Drop me some comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. My back is getting a bit tired. It was so bad. I felt like a 90-year-old for about 3 days, but I'm pretty good now. So let me check in. Victoria is in the house. Hello, beautiful. And Lorraine is here, and Gary and Alexandria. Hello to you. And Pizzada, thank you for your kind words there. And Judy is here, and Jay Castillo. During COVID-19, it's really hard to be in a relationship or meet someone. That's interesting. Yeah. It depends how you look at it, right? Because there's definitely a lot of different ways that you can be meeting people. I'm not going to go into it right now, but there are definitely ways that you can do that. And also, you know what I would say is the more you feel a real desire that you have to have a partner, it's really reassuring to yourself or highlighting for yourself that you need to make sure that you're the one, right? You're not looking for the one. You have to become the one. So I would say, because I talk to a lot of people, particularly on these 15-minute power sessions that I've been having with you guys, a lot of people are looking for the right relationship. And what I would say to you is that you need to hone your own relationship with yourself. If you're really needing an external relationship, it's really pointing to the relationship that you need to build within yourself, so that when the restrictions lift and we're able to meet people in the flesh, then you're going to be at a higher level within yourself, because your own relationship with yourself will determine the quality of the relationship that you will have with another. So the more you up level this relationship that you have with you, the higher quality of partner you're going to attract when you can, right? So what I would say to you with that message is utilize this time to your highest advantage. I really recommend, I don't know what I spilled on the front here, but I really recommend this book, Calling in the One by Catherine Woodward Thomas. It is literally a 7-week course to get yourself and your relationship with yourself to a really high level, so that you're attracting an extraordinary quality of partner. So let's hope for 7 more weeks in lockdown so that you can get through that course and come out the other side not feeling left behind because you didn't have this chance to meet the love of your life, but actually you utilize this time to set yourself up to win and get yourself to a position where you attracted the highest quality of partner that you couldn't have previously attracted, right? Because you just weren't there in your own relationship with self. So hope that's of value, and appreciate your honest sharing there. And Jimmy, good to see you. And Data, in what specific manners do we manipulate? What are some examples of this action? Love your question. And so what I would say to that is we tend to lead with whatever we perceive others will value within us, right? So if we are not feeling a sense of worth within ourselves, we ultimately pick up what do people reflect to me that is my value, right? For some people, it's their intelligence, right? They get reinforced. You're so smart. Wow, right? So they lead with that. And so they overdo their intelligence, right? Or for other people, it might be their money, right? So they lead with their money. For other people, it might be what they do for a career, right? They lead with that, right? They hone in like, I am the best at this, right? And they lead with that. And that's, or for, in the example that we're talking about today, for women, Pandora is looked at as manipulative to men with her beauty, right? And so we manipulate. What manipulation means is we are trying to put all of our best up front and hide away the other parts that we don't perceive that person will find valuable, right? And so we put all our best up front, whatever we lead with as an individual, whatever's been reinforced to us as to our inherent value, right? We lead with that in a form of manipulation. We're just showing the best parts, and we're not showing the whole full spectrum of our authentic selves. And so that becomes a manipulation. And so we might, through that manipulation, like we've been talking about, get what we want, but then we're resentful of it because we have to keep up a facade in order to continue the manipulation that doesn't even feel good when we've got it, but it's not fulfilling because remember that very thing that we got as a manipulative outcome, it actually reinforces that we're not valuable outside of that very thing, right? So if you tend to have very one-sided relationships, or if you tend to feel like people are trying to get something from you, then you got to ask yourself, like, what am I leading with? How am I unconsciously manipulative, right? Because I don't want to admit that I'm manipulative, right? That's a terrible word. None of us think we're manipulative, right? But I invite you to go deep and try it on for size. There's a lot of unconscious manipulative, things going on for each of us when we do not value ourselves and own our worth. We're trying to get that validation from external sources in the areas that have been validated from the external world to us, in whatever area of wealth that is, in beauty, in intelligence, in our spirituality, in our finances, in our whatever our skill set is in our career. All right, so look at that. So appreciate the question and love having you here. And Bill's here as well. And Suzanne, your value is in Christ alone. Love it. Beautifully put. And I love that serves you as well. Thank you so much for sharing. And Goldie, much love to you. And hello to Bill and Joe. Thank you for your kind words. And Laura's here. And Jajendra. Hello to you, and AJ, good to see you, and Hennessy, and Marnie's here, awesome, and Bill, so happy to see how great you feel with your raised level of self-awareness. You wear it well. Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate you, my friend. Good to see you. And Alex, I find you attractive, Vanessa. Your love is inside you, not in someone else. Yeah, I love that. Definitely, Alex. Thank you for those kind words. And definitely, I actually feel this. I feel like the most beautiful, the most attractive qualities in any human being are two things. Well, probably something else as well. But I would say authenticity, vulnerability, and I'm going to put a third one in here because I just love it, and a heart of gold, right? So vulnerability, authenticity, and a heart of gold, right? Those, to me, most attractive qualities any human being can ever hope to possess. And there's something beautiful about authenticity that I think that no matter who you are, no matter what level of awareness you're at, you're innately attracted to people who are just genuinely authentic, right? Like it's so freeing. Because all of us desire that. All of us just want to be all of who we are and loved that way. We want the freedom to just have full expression without the fear, of judgment or criticism or, any of that negativity coming back to us, or at least, we just don't care about that stuff, right? That's freedom. So I appreciate you sharing that there, Alex. That's awesome. And Jean's here as well. And Alex, it's attractive when you can see someone loves themselves and values them. Absolutely. Money is definitely a lead for me to be a provider, societal indoctrination. Yeah, absolutely. And I love your courage, right? To own that, right? To try it on for size. What are you leading with? I found I had a coach about 6 months ago reflect to me saying, hey, Vanessa, stop trying to prove that you're intelligent, right? And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that I was doing that. And he said, I know, people see what you look like and then they assume that you're not intelligent. And so you're overdoing intelligence, right? And I had no idea. I was completely unconscious to that pattern. But when he said it, it actually really rung true for me. So I had to look at, what am I leading with? Where is that coming from? And when you own and have self-awareness over your patterns and you own your self-worth at higher and higher levels, you stop having the needy kind of sense or drive to prove anything in your external world, and you just show up and you just give from a really authentic and loving, self-loving and other-loving place, right? You're not trying to get something or get somebody to give you something, like in terms of validation or proving that you're of value to them, right? So it becomes that you can actually connect with others in a meaningful way. So I love that, Alex. Thank you so much for sharing, and really I'm loving that you've been able to identify that, because the growth path now is being able to build awareness around when you're leading, right, with finances, like with money, right, being the provider, and also seeing and owning that you are a valuable human being, inherently valuable, just for being you. There's nobody else that is you. I know, as corny as that sounds, it's so true, right? And just know that when we lead with things to try and get some validation, when we get them, we're not fulfilled, and it perpetuates the cycle, right? Nothing's ever good enough. We're always chasing the next validation or the next proof. So, do yourself a favor, get off the merry-go-round, right? Identify what you lead with, do the work that you need to do to own your value. Let it point back towards yourself and the work that you can do to own your value and your sense of worth as a human being, so that you can go out into the world and you can get and generate the money. But now it's not connected to your sense of value or worth. You just get to enjoy a life where you get to buy things and contribute things in that financial way, right? You get to be the provider from a place of overflow, from a self-loving relationship with yourself, right? That's what we want to get to. And really, really appreciate your time, Vanessa. Much love. Much love to you as well, Alex. Thanks for contributing so much for the conversation today. And Stephen, hello to you. And I'm grateful that this is great advice in your world. So I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for showing up, for hanging in there with me. Today's message was particularly on a tangent, just talking it out with you guys. And I hope that me sharing, just because all the stuff that I share with you is literally in real time, right? Like this stuff that I'm having the insights on, I'm literally spent my morning doing this work, right? And I hope that it's of value to you, that I'm sharing from that place. I love taking you guys on the journey with me. It's much more fun if we share it. So hope that this has served you. And just remember, that at the end of the day, until you know your worth as a human being, you'll needily go out there and manipulate others into validating you. And even if you get what you think you want, it's just going to reinforce to that deepest part of you, that fearful place, that you're not good enough, right? Just as you are. So it just perpetuates the old cycle. So you might as well build consciousness over your patterns. Where do you feel as an individual your value is most tied? What do you lead with when you go out into the world to prove your value? And just know that building that awareness on that pattern and pointing it back towards yourself and giving yourself that opportunity to own your value as a human being outside of the things that you lead with is your ticket towards achieving everything in your external world with fulfillment, right? If you're not doing it, if you are trying to achieve from a place of fulfilling a void within that only you can truly fulfill for yourself, it'll never be fulfilling, no matter what relationship you get, no matter what level of health you achieve, no matter how beautiful you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much money you have, it won't matter. It'll never be enough. So until you know your worth, you will be doing things to manipulate a result that reinforces your deepest fear of not being good enough. So just remember that, notice and identify your patterns, and do the work to build a beautiful self-loving relationship with yourself, where you know your inherent value, right, as a human being. And I'd love to support you if you struggle with that. You can always reach out. All right, so, and Mohammed, good morning to you. And Alex, I feel money isn't important, but it's important, holds me in a paralysis. its importance holds me in a paralysis. Yeah, so you're still attaching, you're connecting like a lot of us women connect with what society says about beauty being our value or our power. You're connected into the masculines, their power being in their money or ability to provide. All right. And it gets reinforced to us from the same sex, from the opposite sex. It's just, we've just got to be conscious of these patterns and these mindsets in humanity, and just know that, it might not feel like it's important to you, but what you're picking up on is its importance from external sources, and you're valuing those external sources, right? You're not seeing that your value is coming from other places. So just reinforce all the other value that you have to offer for just being the unique individual that you are. All right. Love your shares today, Alex. Thank you so much to everybody who's been able to join today and contribute to the conversation. Like I said, you are so appreciated. And my message, as always, is to go out there and live authentically, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully and purposefully. Thanks again for showing up today. And I'm sending you guys all of my love, and I will see you tomorrow. Much love.